I got to give her a lot of credit. She came on the show. She was right there. She did a good job with that, and I know that it's really, really tough. So, Phyllis, we thank you and really commend you today.
I'd like to also say a big shout out to Greg Funk, who is listening today as well, and he struck me as a great guy when I've met him a couple occasions there at Eagle Nation, but you could definitely tell that he loved his brother and really was appreciative of everything that we have done thus far to keep his legacy alive, but fighting for justice, because that's really what we want. Some people might say, well, Michael's dead, so why don't you just, let this just go? Why is it that we can't let this go? Anybody want to answer that question? Because I know there's people listening right now, and Neenah, at the police department, even the mayor's probably, or the state's attorney's going to listen to this, and they may want to know what really is driving you guys to do what you're doing.
You know what it is, Keith? We just want answers to the questions. We know we cannot bring Michael back. We all know that. The thing is, the investigation was handled so terribly, and we have so many questions that we would just like answered, and I think we're entitled to that. The taxpayers paid for a 5-month DOJ investigation, and yet when it was over with, it's like, we don't answer questions, too bad. Just live with our results. And we know that there's a lot of inaccuracies in their things, and we have no right to question anything. I mean, what kind of government do we have here where we have no right to question their killing of an innocent man?
Now, I wonder what the policy is at police stations when they kill the wrong person. Do they not apologize to the family? Is that what they teach them?
No, what they do is the sergeant and the lieutenant lose complete control over the situation, and they let the person that killed the innocent person run the whole show. And then they promote him to detective, and then they put him out to the technical school to teach other people to do what he did. That's how they handle it here in Neenah, Wisconsin.
So that's doing business as usual from the way you guys see it.
Absolutely.
Wow. What advice could you give the chief of police moving forward to make sure they serve properly the citizens of Neenah?
Well, it's really too bad as a military person who's been in combat that we have a higher standard that we have to go by. In a combat situation with the enemy, we are not allowed to do what the police department is allowed to do to citizens in this country.
And there's really...
They maintain the same thing the military does.
And there's really no real good answer to what really happened. And that's why you say there's really no good answer. I mean, yeah, the man was taken out, and not just with one bullet. How many bullets were found in Michael, by the way?
9 bullets.
Yeah.
9 bullets. They said they shot at him 19, hit him 7, and then 2 more times.
Did they know who Michael Funk?
Distance away.
Did they know who he was?
They knew exactly who he was. We have videotape a couple months prior of Hoffer and Michael having a conversation and a discussion over another problem that came up at the shop. Hoffer responded to it, and Michael and him were having a conversation. And yet in the DOJ investigation, Hoffer said he didn't know him. And yet we have a videotape of them talking to each other.
Now, I do understand, and you had told me that they had believed, at least at one time before this incident, that you guys may have been cooking up some drugs in the basement, so they tore your whole shop apart. Do you think this might have played into why Michael died?
Oh, I think it's absolutely has something to do with it. Because what happened is, as the result of their tearing the shop apart, they were looking at a $50 million lawsuit, and the officer that shot ML was the one that led the raid into the building in 2012. It's all connected.
Did they find anything?
Absolutely. They found a joint that they claimed belonged to me.
That was planted.
Then we believe they planted it. We have video proof of the Neenah Police Department planting drugs. We also have video proof of them altering our security system, and yet a judge threw it all out.
And this is the thanks. They were embarrassed, apparently. They just didn't like the guy for whatever reason.
Keith, the day before that 2012 raid, when they claimed we had drugs going on in here, the Neenah Fire Department had showed up with an inspector, and he was given the run of the building the day before. Now, would we have given the Neenah Fire Department the run of the building a day before the Neenah police came in and said it was all drug related?
I wouldn't think so. And here's the poor thing that you saw in some of the transcripts that the police department said they're thinking why they acted the way they did, perhaps, was that they thought that they were wanting to attack the police when they came in. There's a term for it. What would they call it?
A bait pile.
Which is really crazy. So really, think about it. You have a $50 million lawsuit against the Neenah Police Department, and you are going to, all of a sudden one day, Michael Funk and Steve Arado are fixing motorcycles, and one looks at the other and says, we got this $50 million lawsuit talking about, retiring and buying a motorhome. Michael was talking about buying a motorhome and going cross country, and maybe it was time they retired. But no, the conversation in the police eyes went like, today maybe we ought to set up a bait trap. Maybe we ought to get these Neenah police in here that we have the $50 million lawsuit against and shoot them. Really? I don't think so.
It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, there are people that are not too bright, but that wasn't Michael nor yourself. You guys are business people. You were in the military. I mean,
the other thing, Keith, is had they done any community policing, they would have known that for the last 20 years we had put on a breakfast every Saturday morning.
Right, blood drives.
Also, another thing to bring up, the officer, if you review the tapes, the officer that came up with the idea that it was a bait pile just happened to be Craig Hoffer.
Imagine that.
So was there not any history? And I wonder if that was any of the conversation that the state's attorney was privy to, and did he do any investigation to find out if there was something sinister going on, which everybody believes right now, but did anybody take it any further to really connect the dots?
Keith, the day of the situation and the shooting, myself as well as the other two hostages were brought to the Neenah Police Department in handcuffs, brought to booking under the impression that we were going to be arrested for this bait pile theory that the police had. When the DOJ entered, they said no, that wasn't true. That is the only conversation any one of us ever had regarding that 5-month investigation.
All right.
The other 5 months was spending in clearing the police officers.
All right. I mentioned off air earlier that we're going to come up with a song with a local musician to write about Michael Funk that tells the whole story within 3-4 minutes. But the other thing, I'm wondering who's going to play Hoffer in this Showtime original or Netflix original. But I'm going to talk to some producers to bring the Michael Funk story alive, because I think this needs to be a movie or a documentary that tells the truth. And I'm going to talk to some producers in New York and Los Angeles and Miami about coming to Neenah and looking at the story. And we're going to have a motorcycle rally. We're going to bring in as many motorcycles into Neenah, Wisconsin as possible. If it's 1 million bikes, we'll do it from all over America because there's injustices against motorcycle riders all over the country. And this needs to stop. And Neenah, we're putting you on notice, because if you do this again, we're going to have a documentary team at your door every single time, making this a story that's going to not only embarrass you nationwide, but it will cost you your job, because we'll have money behind it that will be able to afford the lawyers and the coverage that's necessary to make this happen. That's the only problem right now, is a shortage of money. But I'm sure this rally would raise probably $1 million+ and really help us out, seek some justice. We didn't even get a mere apology. So that's what really is insult to injury. And just to think that this idiot that killed Michael Funk is actually teaching others how to do the same thing poorly.
Yeah, pretty sad situation there.
What do you think of the docudrama or a movie about Michael Funk?
Oh, I say let's go. I'm all in.
Keith, there's so many twists and turns. We haven't even gotten into everything here. We've just covered the highlights, but there's a lot more to the story. And this was definitely a planned situation.
All right, and I think I know where you're going. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Steve and Mike, they were in business together. Steve's still running the motorcycle shop in Neenah, Wisconsin. Now, if you've not been to Neenah, folks, let me just paint you a little picture here. There's a beautiful bridge that actually just slopes down, comes into this downtown area, and it's been under development. They want to do big things with Neenah, but there's one small problem for some of the decision makers in the town. They have not liked the motorcycle shop. You understand? You get the picture? This has been an ongoing problem, and Steve, I know you can't say too much because there's some legal stuff going on, but would it be correct to say that they consider the shop an eyesore? And believe me, folks, it's clean. It looks nice. It's presentable. It's not a dive. They have several stores inside there, an apparel shop and a tattoo shop, and it's beautiful in there. It's really nice. They do a super job. I've purchased some things in the shop. I love the shop. Their breakfasts, man, shoot, Cracker Barrel can't even hold anything to it or anything in town. You guys should open up a restaurant inside there, too. In addition to your beautiful gym, it looks like Gold's Gym down there. And the best elk club I've seen downstairs, too, man. You guys tap it up, after hours. I love it. But seriously, man, you guys got it going on. Seriously, it's a beautiful place. But they are jealous, I believe, and envious of the amount of property that you own in downtown Neenah that they offered you. They want that space, don't they?
Keith, yeah, absolutely they want it. If you walk out our front door, you're about 20 yards away from a $11 million new office building. And then if you walk 20 yards to our left is where they're parking. We're kind of sitting on a little island in between everything they're developed. And I just want to say this, Keith, that 20 years ago when we started here, this was all an industrial area. And we got along fine with the police. I was on the mayor's board for the development of the downtown area. As soon as they decided they wanted to develop this area, and Wilkerson became the chief of police, all of a sudden we were the bad guys that had to go.
And folks, you know the rest of the story. You bad blood. What kind of guy was Michael, just for the audience that may not know? How would you describe his character?
He was a really great guy. I mean, he was a disabled veteran. And I just one thing else I want to say. Me and Michael both are disabled veterans. And Eagle Nation is a state certified by the state of Wisconsin disabled veteran-owned business. And Michael was part of that. He was a grandfather. He was great with his grandkids. I mean, his grandkids and my kids used to love coming here, eating here, hanging out here, running through the front door. It was very commonplace for kids to be here. And Michael was a big part of all of that. Just a great guy.
Yeah, his mom seems like the sweetest woman on the planet, but she has nothing nice things to say. And the impact that he had was common amongst anybody that he touched for a short time or a long time. But a lot of folks appreciated him and loved him in Neenah, Wisconsin, and throughout Wisconsin. He's got a lot of friends and fans that still remember him very fondly.
Oh, absolutely. He was just a great guy.
All right.
And he did not deserve to have that happen to him.
Community for Change. It's for cultural change. You have an email, and we have to say it slow, but it's keep.cops.honest@gmail.com. Did I get it right?
Correct.
Case surprised. keep.cops.honest@gmail.com. And that's the email. And if you would like to donate, we'd like to get involved, most of all, of this organization, Community for Cultural Change. This is an organization that wants positive change, wants accountability, and want people going off AWOL and deciding that they are going to handle things their own way and go above the law. And that's the problem with a lot of politicians in this country. And unfortunately, a lot of people that say that they're there to uphold the law and to protect, they feel like for somehow that they're protected by that badge, even when they do bad things. And I'm afraid, folks, as a radio talk show host, that there has been an injustice done in Neenah, Wisconsin, and I will lend as much time, energy, and effort to this story until there's some kind of resolution, until there's kind of redemption for the community, because I don't think that Neenah can move past this until there's somebody that's let go, until there's a change at the very, very top, because, it starts with leadership. And the leadership did not offer any apology to the Funk family or to the friends at that for what they did, for a dear man shot down, a disabled vet shot down for no reason other than He called 911 and asked for help.
Absolutely.